Hello everyone, I hope you all are doing well. Today we are going to talk about Python's variables. So let's say I have a file, I have simply opened a Python file and I have named it main.py. So in this Python file we are going to practice some code that would give you an introductory idea about variables in Python. So whenever we want to declare a variable with Python, in Python I mean, we place the variable's name in the left hand side. All right, so let's say I am going to declare a variable named a, and I want this variable a to have 40 stored here. So this means I have created a variable named a, and a has the value 40. All right, and in the same way, let's say I am declaring another variable named b, and I want b to have 15 in it. So this is a variable and this is another variable, and if I want to print it, I can obviously simply use the print function. That would be print a, and if I simply run it, you see the value of a is 40. I can do the same thing for the other variable, which is b also, and you see it is printing them one by one as I want it to. All right, so there goes. And I know that you might have question like how we can create variables for integer or string. Is there any differences or not? I'm going to talk about that in the next videos, where I will explain how many data types are there in Python and how we can use them in different scenarios. So as I am going very easy for this variable related video, I'm not going to worry about that right now. All right, so let's say I'm creating more variables. Let's say x equals my name Fahim. So you see that x is a variable and it contains a word, or in programming language we call it string. And whenever we want to print something as string, we can use double quote or single quote. For example, I have used a double quote here, and if I want to print it, obviously I can do that. But before going there, let me simply comment out the earlier ones so that it won't affect my code right now. And you see it's printing my name fine. And let's say I want to declare another variable, let's say y, and I am going to store my name here, but this time I'm not going to use the double quote. I am simply going to use the single quote Fahim. And if I want to print it, you see it's working. So in that way, whenever we want to print any string, we can use either double quote or single quote. But keep in mind that if you start with double quote, you have to end with double quote as well, and if you start with single quote, you have to end it with that single quote. All right, I mean, you can't mix up two type of quotations here. But yeah, there are some differences in different scenarios where we prefer single quote over double quote, or the vice versa. But as usual, I'm not going to bore you with that much concept in this video. We are going to see those later. All right, for now I have provided you some examples, and in these examples you have understood that in Python, wherever we want to declare a variable and initialize it with values, we don't specifically declare the data type, right? I know you might say that, hey Fahim, you have already told us that you don't want to discuss about data types in this video, so why you are talking those right now? Yeah, I know that I have said that, but let me show you something. You don't necessarily need the strong idea of data types right now, but simply go through the process I'm going to show you right here. All right, so I can simply comment this out, and let's say now I want to declare a variable and initialize values in it, but this time I'm not going to store the values directly in the variable. I will cast those values, or simply put, I'm going to declare a variable and I'm going to initialize the value, but during the initialization process, I will specifically mention exactly which type of data type I want it to be. For example, let's say I am taking a variable name, let's say x, and here I want to store let's say 100 as integer. So I can simply wrap these values in integer like this, a bracket, but before that integer. So it becomes integer. If I simply print the value, you see it's printing 100. But I know obviously you can't get the differences whether it's printing integer 100 or string 100. So in that case, if you are getting confused like me, like I used to do when I started learning Python, so there are a good way to understand the exact topic Python is using right now. We call that the type function. If we use the type function, Python explicitly tells us exactly which type of data types it is using that right now. So we can obviously use that. For example, I have printed the value of x and that is 100, but I know that 100 can be a string or integer both. So how we can determine exactly which type of data type Python is using for the variable x? Obviously we can simply use the type function. So type function would tell us exactly which types of data x has. All right, so I can simply run it. You see that it's telling me that the variable x contains integer type of data. All right, and let's say I'm declaring another variable named y, and this time I am simply declaring the data type as string. Whenever we want to wrap it in string, we use str as the short form for string, but you can't like this. You have to write like this is a reserved keyword for Python for specifying string. All right, and let's say I'm simply storing 100, but this time this 100 is not an integer because I have casted it as a string. So in y I'm storing the string 100, not integer 100, keep in mind. All right, and if I simply want to print it, let me simply comment to the previous things so that it won't impact right now. And if I simply run it, you see that, sorry, temp code runner, you see that it's printing 100. But as usual, we are already confused exactly which type of data it is printing right now. Is it printing the integer 100, or is it printing the float 100, or is it printing the string 100? Don't worry, Python has got us covered. We can simply check the data type directly in it. So we can simply use the type function and wrap the variable's name like this. So it would simply print the data type y variable has. All right, so if I simply run it, you see that it's telling me that y currently has a string type of data in it. So by this we can easily identify whether a variable has an integer type or string type or float type or anything else. And in this way we can explicitly define the data type during the initialization process of a variable in Python. So we have learned a lot of things here, but I know that it's kind of confusing, especially when if you are learning Python, but don't worry about that. We will cover each type of teeny tiny bit details in the upcoming video. But before wrapping up today's video, let me tell you something more, that Python is a case sensitive language. All right, so what that does mean? It means that uppercase letter and lowercase letters are different in Python. Let me give you an example first. Let's say I have a variable named y and I am storing 20 here. All right, and I can simply print the value of y. Here you see that I have used the capital Y. If I simply run it, you see that it's printing 20. And now I'm declaring another variable named y, but this time it's not capital, this is small letters y. All right, and this time I'm storing 25 in this small letter y, and if I want to print the small letter y, what should the value be? Should it be 20 or 25? Let's see. So you see the value of capital Y is still 20 and the value for small y is 25, because Python is a case sensitive language. So it actually matters whether we are using uppercase letter or lowercase letter, because even if the alphabet or letter is the same, in this case y, we are using y in both variables, but in one in line number 21 we have used the uppercase y, and in line number 23 we have used lowercase y. So it indicates two different variables, they are not the same, because Python is case sensitive language, and that means that uppercase letter and lowercase letter are completely different in Python. All right, So that's it. That's the wrap up. Don't worry about the code because the code would be available in the description box anyway. See you again.